Meeting the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish? Abraham's absent.
Yeah, and Denny's at a rural water convention meeting, Chris.
Okay, the first thing that I have is the meeting minutes from the public hearing for the zoning amendment from April 26th. And do you want me to read?
I think, David, if there's no objections, since these are long minutes and they're all pre-prepared, if, other than you'll see those comments down there at the back, if we can just accept them as presented, unless you want them read. Go to page 2 of 12. While David...
Okay, motion to accept the minutes as presented.
For the public hearing
For
portion.
the public
only.
hearing, yes.
On April 26th. Okay, I'll second.
Euring?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Thank you. Then I have the April 26, 2022 regular meeting minutes of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:01 p.m. by Lynch with a pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Yerg, and Kish were present. Also in attendance, K. Smarsh, G. Lynch, R. Cerrone, R. Bechter, J. Wilhelm, C. Nyhart, K. Hill, D. Penny, N. Penny, and J. Whitman. 4/11/22, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick, to approve the April 12, 2022 meeting minutes as read. All ayes. 4/12/22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, to approve that the March 2022 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. 4/13/22, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham, moved to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. All ayes. Fiscal Officer Kish reported that all electronic filing of reports for the state and local fiscal recovery funds, the ARPA dollars that are due April 30th, 2022, have already been filed and accepted. Under audience concerns, there were none. Trustee Lynch noted that we will be halting the regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. to hold the bid opening for Dewey Road project from Park Avenue North to Northridge resurfacing, as well as the public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Amherst Township zoning resolution map. There was no correspondence. For reports, ambulance, there was no report. Zoning, 9 permits for the month, 1 new home. There will be a meeting at 6:30 p.m. on May 3rd for the Zoning Commission, and at 7 p.m. on May 5th for a BZA meeting. Under fire, Chris Nyhart working his way through fire inspections and working on food truck inspections. Road Park Cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported that working on potholes, starting to mow in cemeteries. Dumpster days was this past weekend. We filled the least number of dumpsters since he has been here. 4/14/22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to hire part-time temporary road department personnel addition, Mr. Darrell Saladin. All ayes. Trustee Lynch noted packets contained a copy of the Lorain County ARPA grant application, stating the Amherst Township Board of Trustees respectfully request the Lorain County Board of Commissioners to appropriate $247,900 of county ARPA funds for the extension of the Lorain County sanitary sewer from the Hampshire Farm subdivision northerly along Overland Road to State Route 2 overpass, and $40,000 in TIF and/or ARPA funds to be used as a partial match for the OPWC Round 37 Overland Road resurfacing grant application. At 7:30 p.m., Trustee Lynch noted we would recess the regular meeting so that we could move into the public hearing and bid opening. Before starting the public hearing, Trustee Lynch called for any other bids for the bid opening, and with none, closed the bidding. Trustee Lynch moved to return to the regular meeting from the bid opening and public hearing at 7:46 p.m. 4/15/22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Map amendment consideration for owner Gunver K. Penton Lodge and applicant Joe Keys of Hart Advertising to rezone approximately .56 acres, parcel number 05-00-062-102-026, located along State Route east of Oberlin Road, from the present classification of residential agricultural, RAG, to the proposed classification of light industrial. Roll call, Lynch and Abraham, ayes. Urick, no. Lorco, no report. Today's newspaper included an article to see if the county can get congressional dollars for sanitary sewers. Phase 2 permit. Trustee Lynch noted that the Stormwater Advisory Committee did approve our Batten House ditch restoration project for moving forward. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individuals. Under old business, the Solid Waste Management District Consortium did meet on the 20th of April, and the fuel surcharge will be $2.52 a quarter. 41622, a motion under new business, 41622, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved for approval of the Hampshire Farms Development Street Lighting Plan and authorization for Ohio Edison to bill for installation and operating costs of Hampshire Farms Development lighting. All ayes. 41722, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to authorize Township Administrator to recruit and hire an administrative assistant. All ayes. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. Cahill was interested in clarification on the lights on Hampshire Farms Development regarding the cost of power and maintenance. The amounts she understood were correct. Jay Whitman wanted an opinion regarding the flags flying in the township that have profanity written on them. The township has no authority over expressions of free speech by citizens on their private property. D. Penny raised a question on when the next meeting will be had for the sandstone development. They are tearing up trees and very close to his property line. There will be a meeting at 6:30 p.m. on May 3rd for the Zoning Commission. 41822, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to enter into executive session at 8:30 p.m. according to ORC sections 121.22G3 to discuss disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action. All ayes. 41922, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to return from executive session at 9:03 p.m. All ayes. 42022, motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick, to adjourn at 9:03 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the April 26th trustee meeting minutes? No.
Nothing. The only thing I just realized, we list what the bid opening was. We don't have a listing on the bid opening in this.
Well, we did take a list and send it over to the county engineer.
And we send the bids over. We usually note that we open the bids.
It was,
Well, if she noted, let's go back to the bid opening.
Just that there was a bid opening, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever listed each one before, David. I mean, we could if you wanted to. You got a copy there? You want to just
I'm
say the
just-
bid tabulation is enclosed?
Bid
no,
tabulation.
I think you're saying you wanted it to say that we did the bid opening. Is that what you're saying?
That, or have a record of it. Should we have a record of the bid opening in the...
Well, it says the bid was closed. At 7:30 p.m., Trustee Lynch noted
Okay.
we would recess the regular meeting so that we could move to the public hearing and bid opening.
Then we go
Before
to
starting,
the resolution on the zoning change, and then we don't have anything mentioned
think
as
it-
far as the bid opening.
it just said bid opening and
Trustee
with
Lynch
none
moved to
closed.
return to the regular meeting from the bid opening. I mean, what else do we do during the bid
don't think
opening
I
other than open the
listed-
bids?
Just notice in the, I mean, if we don't do it here, we can put it in when we award the bid.
Yeah, there'll be a resolution to award the bid, but we just received the recommendation back from the county engineer, so we'll have the resolution at the
Yes.
next meeting.
Yes, all right. We can let the minutes stand then as,
Okay.
and we'll just add
Yeah, I
that to the
misunderstood-
resolution.
I misunderstood you, David. I
Mhm.
thought you wanted the tabulation sheet of all the bids that were open. Well, then the easiest would have just been see attached, and we
Right.
just put an attachment to it versus listing each one.
We could put it, see attached on it. What do you
That
think,
would be
Neil?
one.
Yeah, and just put the, what was open, just what the amounts were on the bid
Can
opening.
you just give Chris a copy of that?
I get it.
You've already got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then
I
see
saved it
attached.
electronically, so.
Okay, from the bid opening, and then we'll just amend the minutes that way, or correct the minutes. Public hearing. And when was that? That was after the
Just-
4:15, no?
Just before 415 resolution. So
Okay.
you'd say, see attached, bid tabulations sheet.
Attached. Bid. Tab. Sheet. Okay. There you go.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the April 26, 2022 meeting minutes as changed or corrected?
Corrected.
As corrected?
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
You're,
Yes.
and you have in front of you the financials, the payment listing for this half a month. The largest thing on there is the first quarter for the Amherst Fire Department. Everything else is pretty much standard.
Was there anything standing out on the Amherst Fire Department's bill? Are they typical?
If you look at this quarterly report, will actually show it a lower run rate than normal, David.
So if anything, this is
4.6
low?
No, this will actually be a higher run rate. Yeah, because just, multiply it by 4. You're 240, and the run rate before was running around 176,000. The new contract, I believe, is 185,000 if it has to be trued up. So this is showing a higher run rate there.
All right.
And then, Chris, I just want to mention, we were discussing just prior to the meeting opening about the ARPA funds, and, since we passed that resolution of what the Treasury terms the standard allowance for entities that received under 10 million, and obviously we weren't anywhere close to that, don't we wish, but all of these bills could have been paid, but obviously the fire bill, we want to pay out of the fire fund, so we won't do that. I'm not sure how you would handle, like, the one going to Butchko Electric, because we received grant funds
Right.
for that. But I believe, didn't the grant funds go into the general fund? They didn't have a separate fund, did they?
Mm-mm.
But I don't know if it, we've got to use those grant funds, obviously, so it still comes out of the general fund. I don't know what, the grant provider would say one way or the other. We'll definitely use up all of those ARPA funds here. But just so you're aware, every one of these other bills would have been eligible then for the ARPA funds.
Right, well,
Except
they
those
all
two.
have blanket certificates where they're coming out of, so,
That's where you have to do, you want to do just the one spreadsheet at the end, you're saying?
no, I do not, but I don't know how I would cancel purchase orders, blanket certificates that are already written up and try and take it out of ARPA funds. They're already allocated.
I just wonder what the other townships are doing on
I don't know.
that. Okay.
Our revenue year-to-date is $591,263.10, and our expenditures are $487,132.75.
That includes the 60,000 going to the Amherst Fire Department?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservation.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Steering.
Yes.
Anything else on the financials, Chris?
Nope.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. If anyone has anything to bring before the board, please raise your hand. And yes, if you come up to the podium, state your name and where you live.
Hello, I'm Tim Nicholson. I live at 9166 Oberlin Road. I tell you our story real quick. I'll keep it as brief as I can. We bought the property 2 years ago, and we built our house last year. We moved in first of the year. Our property is right here, the square. It's 5 acres square. When we started clearing the property, the first thing we did before I did anything was I contacted the Lorraine County Land and Soil to find out what I can do. They said as long as I disturbed no more than 1.5 acres, that I did not have to file what they call an NOI, which is a notice of impact. So we disturbed right about maybe 1 acre at the most. So I met, before we did anything too, I met with the other 2 property owners, which is this 1.5 acres and this 15 acres. I contacted them and said, let's all meet so we all know what we're doing, so we're on the same sheet of music, because we're all going to be neighbors anyway. So met with them, met with those people, and we talked about a lot of things, including how the water was running, because I'd shot elevations and done a lot of topographical before we bought the property to see where was what and how things were running and what did what. So I didn't enter into this very lightly. This was a long-term plan and quite expensive. So I knew that in this area, we were the high spot, and the water drains directly towards the northwest. So we walked the property with everybody. The people beside us with a little piece of property is Kevin Camp. He did not walk all the property because it really didn't involve him. He's like, yeah, the furrow's between us. It's been there for 100 years, and the water will continue to run that direction. So I walked that with Rich Blevins, which is the boyfriend of the property owner, which is Renee Harbin. So I walked up with Rich, and we determined that the furrows that were there were very full of stuff, trash, all the water that runs from the road, all the trash that's out there, the limbs, the branches, and all the crap. So we determined that we needed to clean those out so they would run and they would flow. And I talked to Archie Abraham, who we bought the property from. He owns this property back here. So I talked to him because that's where the creek runs. And he was like, yeah, what we need to do is you need to clean all that out. So I got with Rich, and we had an excavator, a little mini excavator, and we went in. First thing we did was brush hog them because they're about 3 feet across. So we took all the big logs and stuff that was laying in, and then we brush hogged them, and then we cleared them out so the water would flow. Seemed like everything was going to work just fine. Then when I started building the house, when we started doing the excavating and whatnot, Rich started to be not the kindest neighbor to deal with. So Rich's opinion is water cannot leave your property. You have to maintain your water. And he totes that line like it's the gospel. And I said, okay, Rich, what do you propose that I do with the water? So if we could we go to the next, the map I drew?
Right there.
Hey, thank you. So let me give you a quick lay of the land. It'll make great sense. So the high spot is here. So this is a giant farmland. So all this farmland, a lot of it drains this way to me. There's a furrow back here. Tom that lives beside me has a pond. His pond drains to me. This field pulls water right here. that goes into the ditch, drains to me. So the water comes down. If it gets to this point, there's an old furrow here that went through here. This is the furrow that Rich got really upset about about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He says, he goes, well, you dug that. And I said, no, Rich, you were with me. And I cleaned it out. I took all the silt out of it so it would flow. So the water goes down through here. What's left comes down here, goes in front of me, goes into this deep furrow, and goes all the way down beside me. All of the water up north of me, there's another pond here, north of me comes to here and goes down here, and it forms a creek about right here. And there must be a spring or something in there because water is very evident coming in through the ground. And that's in the back of Robin's property. So this creek is actually about right here, turns into a real creek. And it runs here, runs all the way down along Rich's and Renee's property, runs back across this farm field, and then goes into Archie's and runs all the way back. And when it gets about right in through here, it's running pretty good. It used to come down and go into Rich's property. It kind of broke off and got real wide. And Rich has dammed that up, so it has to make a pretty hard turn, which is definitely slowing this down.
Which one's Rich's property?
Rich is Renee's property, which is all the blue.
All right.
So Rich has nothing to do with this. He's not on any documents. He doesn't own anything, but his girlfriend owns it all. So she keeps putting him as her appointed person to talk. I've talked to her several times. Sorry?
He's the front, he's the
Yes, sir.
firewall.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So about 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, I noticed that I had water pooling here. And then this furrow started filling up all the way to the road. And I'm like, well, that's never happened before. So, and I don't go back there. My goal when I bought the property and built the house, I strategically only took trees out that I had to. I wanted very wooded. I don't want to touch nothing. If I had my way, I wouldn't have a yard. But my wife wants a 40-foot strip of grass, so got to please her, so I'll have to do that. But, so that was my goal. I don't want to touch it. So I have no reason to go back here, other than in the fall I cut a lot of firewood from the few I had to cut down. So I go back here, and Rich has built a dam. There was one here, and then there's a big one here. So the water can no longer go through here and go back to the stream and go back here where it has for as long as it's been there probably. When I talked to Archie, he said these furrows have been there forever and they've worked very, very well forever. So I went to Rich and I said, why did you build dams? The first picture is that circle right there, where this comes across my property. A year ago, this was all draining and leaching. Yes, this area right through the middle here is low, and yes, it does stay a little wet. I understand that. But it would leach its way eventually. So, like today, it's leached, but I have a pool. This whole ditch is full of water and whatnot. The second picture was a bunch of brush that he threw in the property right here at this corner. He filled it with brush. The third picture is this dam here at the corner of our property. It's up a little bit from the corner, but that's the big one. So I went over to Rich and I said, hey, what are you doing? Why did you dam the water up? He goes, I've dammed no water up. And I go, well, walk with me. What's that? And he says, must have been a bunch of logs that fell off my truck, off my trailer when I was moving wood. I go, so it conveniently fell against a stake at the property line, just where the furrow water runs. And I go, well, let's go to this one up here. How'd all this brush get in here? And he goes, oh, must same thing. Must just been when I was cutting trees and stuff. I said, well, let's talk about the big one back here. This one here. This one here, he has effectively stopped water from running. So this water is now pooling here, and he has water that actually runs off his property downhill, because there is a little bit of a hilltop here. So it runs down here, and it can't go nowhere now, so it pulls here too. Not much, but some. So I kind of told him that day, I said, please don't take my niceness as weakness. That what you're doing is wrong, and I don't deal with liars and cheaters. I go, I have 180 employees, I don't deal with none of that. And I go, you're lying. So that was the last conversation I've had with him, and I don't plan on talking to him again, because there is no talking to this gentleman at all. He is 100% right all the time, and there's no negotiating with him. So I contacted Denny I contacted Archie, and Archie said, talk to Denny, maybe Denny can give you some good advice. So Denny was like, yeah, I'll come out and walk it with you. So we came out, put boots on. It was a crappy rainy day, and we walked up through all the mud, and he got to see what I'm dealing with. So before that, I contacted Land and Soil, talked to Adam Zark, nice young guy. He came out and joined us, and he looked at it all, and he goes, this is extremely wrong. You can't stop the flow of water. You can't stop the way it's gone for 100 years. If you want to do something, you can contact us. We'll help you engineer how to reroute it. We'll help you. So, but Adam's like, I have no enforcement rights. He goes, all I can do is advise you. And he goes, but I'm advising you what he's doing is very, very wrong. So, and then I talked to Tom Simon, surveyor, and he's an engineer. Tom does a ton of surveying in the area. And when I contacted him, he goes, well, I knew you were going to have a problem from the first time I met him, that you're going to have a problem because of the things that he said and now is doing. So he goes, in my opinion, nobody should be building a house back there where he's building his house. His house, he's built a pole barn, which is right there. And he's building a house right here. Because that is extremely wet. He goes, basically, it's wetland. And he goes, I have no idea how he's even going to build a basement. So, if he's building a basement. So, before we had our outing, I went back over to Rich several times. I said, Rich, why are you not digging ditches this way to this furrow and leaching this water away from where you want to build? I go, I'm trying to tell you what you need to do. I go, if you shoot a laser, it will tell you exactly the elevations. And I go, and water goes downhill. I don't care what you do, water goes downhill. I can't stop it, you can't stop it. I go, let's dig some furrows and get this going. I go, Rich, if you want to reroute this, I have no problem rerouting it, but let's do it together so it will flow, so it won't impact me. I go, because you're impacting me, you're impacting these guys, you're impacting this. The pipe that comes across that drains all of this, going over to these guys, it's going to impact everybody. My big concern too is that with this completely blocked, this goes all the way to the road. And there's a lot of water. And on a really bad rainstorm, it's getting full. Has it gone over the road? Not yet this year, but it will. It will go over the road. There's no doubt in my mind. So with you get one of those super bad flash storms, it's going to be a big issue. So now Rich's water goes over here into the creek. So it's okay for him to drain out, but not me. So to me, my opinion is this is absolute calculated harassment. He has been malicious in what he's done. He's not done this for any purpose whatsoever other than to put it back up on me. I don't know why. He has this in his mind that water can't leave your property. I don't want to build a pond. I don't want anything to do with a pond. I don't want to cut another tree down. So in the last maybe 3 weeks, and so you know, I have like 60, 70 texts on my phone of all of the things that he sends me. And he says, I'm building a pond, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. So I call in, he hasn't taken a permit out to build a pond. So hasn't done the engineering to build a pond. So his pond, he said, is going to be built behind his house here, directly over where this furrow is. So the last 3 to 4 or 5 weeks, he's cut down probably 25 trees. So I contacted the forestry because when I looked on the auditor site, he's getting a tax credit through CUAV, if I said that right.
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay, so I contacted the forestry and said, so did he tell you that he's cutting down all these trees? They said, well, you know, he can cut some to maintain and whatnot, but if he's harvesting multiples, no, he has to contact us. He hasn't contacted them. So he hasn't filled out an NOI, and he's disturbed probably 3 acres. Now he's doing that in violation of that. Basically, he thinks he can do anything, and nobody's in control. So that's why I wanted to bring it up here, because it's just not me. It's everybody around me that he's affecting. And he's not following any guidelines whatsoever. And you know, it's irritating when you can't sit down and just have a conversation and go, hey, let's fix this. You know, we have the means to do anything. You know, we can fix it. So he did contact Archie last week and said he wants to reroute everything, and he needs to build all these long ditches and come into his property, but it doesn't make any common sense because you can't do anything up here because there's a hilltop. It's slight, but water can't go this way. Water can't go this way. Water has to go this way to that creek and then over. And when I talked to Archie, he's like, yeah, he goes, all your guys' water drains on me. And he goes, so I got this creek. So I went and walked it last week, and he's preparing to clean that out so it'll flow even better because he gets a pool back there. So, and he said he's trying to figure out the other end of it, what can be done, you know, easily so the water will go even more. So, you know, my concern is this going to reach my house? I don't think so, because I built my house pretty far out of the ground. I've got a good bit of excavating left to do. I got final excavating to do. So we've kind of determined, you know, what we need to do to get it so the water won't come up that way. I'm concerned that it's going to go to the road and go over the road, which is going to cause nothing but havoc for everybody. I'm concerned that up through there, we know that when water is going a direction it's never gone before, that there's going to be brand new erosion that we're not even aware of. So, with that said, I'm looking for help. I'm looking for some sort of help to try to rectify this. My opinion is that he shouldn't be building a house until we rectify the situation for everybody around him. And I think it's unfair that he's going to build a house or has the right to build a house with all this going on. I don't think I can get an attorney and go after him fast enough to stop his house because I have to get engineering done and everything else. And it's a pretty enormous expense for me to hire all those people. And I don't feel I should have to, because it's not only affecting me, it's affecting many residents. And it's going to compound as time goes on. It's just going to compound itself. So what I'm looking for is I like to see his house not be built until this is solved. And I'm looking for help from the township, you know, what we can do. My last part is I did contact the Army Corps of Engineers on Monday. Under Archie's recommendation, he thinks that maybe they can step in and help us. He goes, big government organization, you know nothing's going to happen quick. It's going to take a lot of time. So, outside of that, I don't know what else I could have done different. to head this problem off. I was as open, I researched everything as best I could, talked to everybody I could to try to do things right. And I don't know what to do now. I really don't. I'm kind of at a loss. So, and I don't know what you guys can do. I've heard what you can do, but I don't know exactly what you can do. So, and you may not know either. I don't know. I don't know how many times you've been through these kind of problems. I would think that that we could just sit down in a meeting, like a mediation and solve it, but there's just no sitting down with these people. There's just no discussion whatsoever. We could certainly try, and I would love to try, but I mean, I even told him, I said, tell me what I can do to please you. And he goes, you're gonna have to build a pond and retain all your water. I go, well, Rich, it's not just my water. There's hundreds of acres beside me that's farm fields.
Yeah, Tim, let's just so you're aware, even constructing a pond, there still has to be the regular outlet and then also the overflow on the big events. And I'm sure soil and water, Adam would have explained all that to you. So even once the pond's in, the amount of water being shed, it's still going to be shed.
Yep.
After that basin fills up.
If you come out to my house right now, I've got water laying here because of Tom's overflow. So Tom and I got together and came up with a solution that Adam helped us with, and how we're going to force that to go back down there and over.
Okay,
We sat down and we figured it out. We worked together and solved it.
It's my understanding, there's two rules here. One, you can't change where water enters your property and where it leaves the property. What you do on your property with it, that's your business, but you can't change where it comes in and where it goes out. The second thing is, you can't create an obstruction. Right? Obviously, there's obstructions being created, it's backing water up on you, he's liable. However, that's a civil matter. I don't know if he's gotten a permit for a house or not, I'd have to check with Remy. I know there's one house.
He does.
Did he get
a permit for a house?
He got a permit for a house.
Right.
Okay. Well,
Mr. Dale Yost will be building the house for him.
okay. Do we have a time frame on that?
Well, he just got the permit last month, the beginning of last month, so whenever they could start anytime they want.
So he met the conditions for the permit, so he was able to get a permit from us because he met the conditions, which are primarily use and setback. Okay. Residential, and he's meeting the setbacks, the 20-foot setback. Okay, fine. Not much you can do as far as a permit goes. As far as those other things, talk to the Corps of Engineers, EPA, whoever handles the wetlands. Those would be the ones. Generally, when you get a drainage issue like this that doesn't involve the roads, it's a civil matter, it's between property owners. It happens. Generally, people can work things out amongst themselves, but if it gets too bad, you have to take it to court. And then it's a civil matter, then you have to get a court order for him to have his ditch cleaned or to remove the obstructions, etc. We do it that way. You can file some kind of a ditch petition. That's another long drawn-out process, but what that would do would be to have the ditch cleaned.
So, who do I file that with?
And then,
Who do I file that with?
Pardon?
Who do I file that with?
That would be with the County Board of Commissioners. If you call Don Romanchak, the Director of Lorraine County Stormwater District, he would get it for you, Tim. And though there's usually a fee for that, at this point in time, the commissioners are waiving the ditch petition fee. But let's start with the easier ones. You're already aware that typically if it's not dealing with drainage for the roads, it's a civil matter. You mentioned that earlier. Denny explained that, so you already know that. Your concern is by the time you go through that, the house will already be built and there won't be an alternate path to take that stormwater somewhere else. So to start off, when you were talking about this drainage up on Overland Road, and that is a county road right now at that portion, I just don't recall, are those open road drainage ditches?
Where that is, yes.
So they're not tiled underground, they're, okay, they're open drainage
They're,
ditches, so they're backing up.
Yeah,
Okay.
the open starts right here. From here, it's underground. And then that pipe comes across to a culvert, to a grate, and then it's open from here over. But from here to here, these are all open.
Okay, that one, as far as if we take this in order, that would probably be the one that would get the quickest response if you contact the county engineer, and that's Ken Carney at 440-329-5586, because they do not want any of that water backing up on the road. Not only does it create a danger, you know, to the traveling public, but it also is going to undermine the road and increase the cost and repairs. So that's probably your first step, which you haven't gone to yet, so that they can assess the situation and see what's happening there. I would think that your next step is going to be Don Romankak, who's the director of Lorraine County Stormwater District, and I've given you his number and email also. Yep. And for the others out here, it's 440-328-2325. The first thing Don would do as the director, he might contact Soil and Water, not so much on the direction, but as far as the erosion and sediment control rules. Those erosion and sediment control rules were established by Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. And Amherst Township, whereas originally when we were required to meet the EPA, what they call MS4 Phase 2 regulations in 2003, since then we've joined in with the county as a whole. So we only have to have one permit annually versus each community that's required to meet those regulations doing it. Now, realize EPA is not so much concerned with volume of water as much as the quality of the water, cleanliness. I realize where volume comes in is that erosion and sediment control, because if that volume picks up and you get that speed of storm water, it's, you know, taking away all that good soil off of that farmland there, or flooding it to the point where it can't be used, or you don't get the take-up of the nutrients there because the plants don't grow anymore. So where are those nutrients going? They're going in the water, which causes all sorts of problems. So that would be your second step after the county engineer is done in terms of the erosion sediment control rules. I thought it was no more than 1 acre of disturbance. Maybe it is 1.5. But that's a question whether someone disturbs that much or not. But that disturbance won't occur until the time of construction. And at that time of construction, there should be inspections being done as far as what's happening there to keep that water clean and also prevent the erosion and sediment control.
The figuring out how much he's disturbed this entire 1.5 acres, and then another about 1.5 acres all through here because
So
a barn and
he's
house.
already
So
over.
he's way over.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it's Soil and Water, which you've already contacted, is they are the organization that applies the county Board of Commissioners erosion sediment control rules to make sure that they're compliant. Then the next one is the ditch petition, but that's going to take some time. The ditch petition, typically what that is going before the Board of Commissioners, recognizing that you have a drainage issue, then the county engineer, if you go that route, is mandated by statute to do an assessment of that drainage area, including all the soils in that area, and they will work with Soil and Water Conservation, but they've already got all these soils mapped out and what the hydrology is. They will go ahead and determine who all drains into this area. So it's going to go beyond just the property owners that are experiencing the problem right now. According to statute, they would all be assessed for cleaning out that ditch and all the tributaries. And right now, the ditch you're showing, according on the county auditor's website, listed as an unnamed ditch, but it flows into the east branch of Beaver Creek. But with that, that takes time. It's not
Oh,
going
sure.
to get through before a house is built. Um, But the county engineer puts that together, determines what the cost is to remedy the situation, gives the alternatives. Then there are public hearings held at the Board of Commissioners. All the property owners get notified of the public hearing, and they can give either pro or con testimony on this. Ultimately, it's the Board of Commissioners' decision. Each individual would see what their assessment charge would be. But as of right now, the Board of Commissioners have put all those assessments in abeyance. And what they're using is, as you'll see when you pay your stormwater fee on your property taxes, that's that separate fee that's on there, is the county is using those fees to pay the initial reconstruction, renovation of all these drainage courses. And currently, they're also paying for the ongoing maintenance, which usually is going to be once a year coming through and mowing it, because they will need easements for those courses, and possibly removing a log jam, you know, if that's the case, or garbage or whatever else plugs it up. They always caution people there's no guarantee they won't be assessed in the future, but I can tell you those assessments after the initial reconstruction are very small. The real cost is going through with all the engineering, the siting, making sure that you do all the reprofiling down there, removing those soils because you can't spread them in the area. That's where all the big cost is. Well, that's already paid for, so your assessment after that would be ongoing annual maintenance. Getting with the Corps of Engineers, that would be your fourth step. You can try that, but, you know, again, they've got, you know, they're usually looking at where it impacts a much larger area, or if you would have had a situation where you had snail darters or salamanders or
Sure.
Indiana bats or some other, where there's some real endangered wildlife situation, you're causing a problem. And this really doesn't appear to be the case. I mean, you can talk with them, but it'd be difficult for them to really get their attention on this particular issue.
Okay.
But I would think those are the three places to start. County engineer I would do first, because they're going to be concerned with any water backup on the road. They can probably act quickly, and maybe that way they can reason with the property owner. Because looking at your pictures, these dams that were created wouldn't be that much to remove them. And
Give me about 20 minutes.
yeah, so it's, that
That's the
doesn't
first
seem
one.
like that'd be that difficult, but they might be able to talk with them, because then now they've got a vested interest.
Yep.
And it's a little different when a public entity that's backed up by Lorraine County prosecutor, you know, they've got some heft behind them in terms of funding. But I'd start with the county engineer, and I wouldn't do one or the other. Let him know you're also going to talk with Don Romanchak, but Don will wait for what the county engineer's assessment is anyway. Because realize that county engineer comes in from the roads, they come in from whether there's going to be a ditch petition, or it's just a simple removing log jams in that area. But that's where you should start. The township is limited. All we can do is for our roads.
Yep.
And we usually are in the right-of-way. We can at times go off the right-of-way if it's impacting our road, and we can show a direct connection to why, and usually you're talking log jams or somebody's dammed something up or built some structure there that has to be removed because they're impacting the road. So what we have available in our tools is very limited, and also if you look at our funding sources, also considerably less. But that's where I think I would suggest you start.
Okay.
And,
Good stuff.
I did give you documentation
Yes.
on a different drainage issue that the township's dealing with, and that one we were recommending a ditch petition, but realize in their particular case, they also have a more major drainage course than what you're dealing with just on your property here.
Well, my last thing I'll leave you with, and I'll go, is Kevin Camp, who owns that white block. With these here, this water is backed up, and he was wet right here pretty much. But about a third of this property now is unusable. That was going to be their dream home. So they put a for sale sign up. They said they he has harassed them so bad that they're like, we're just going to sell the property and build elsewhere because this battle's never going to be over. It'll never end.
Yeah.
So, I'm stuck because I'm there now. It's us.
Yeah, and there's only one
So-
other option, but this one requires cooperation from all the property owners, and that's where the township actually requests, we seek out grant funding, it's competitive, so you're not guaranteed. There's only one time a year for the application, but in that case, we need signed easements from every property owner with agreements. We have no enforcement authority. So if we find out a property owner's already negative on it, we're not even going to go down that road. 'Cause
Right.
It's a lot of work
Right.
to get to that point, so
Right.
it's, why beat your head against the wall?
And my concern moving forward is he builds this house, he's gonna have a lot of dirt, and he's building this pond, he's gonna have a lot of dirt. And I'm concerned he's just gonna build a wall.
Yeah, well, obviously, that's,
And-
it's
and-
not
and-
lawful, but you know
yeah.
how it is, people break the law all the time, and
Yeah.
if it's not impacting the roads
Yep,
at this point in time, or it's not disturbing more than that acreage that the EPA sets,
Yep.
for those that are required to meet the Phase 2 regulations, who catches them type
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
You already understand.
oh yeah,
So-
yeah, yep, yep. Well, I wanted to bring it to your attention, because it is impacting just not me, several other people. So, and I just wanted someone to know, what we're going through. And it's not gonna be an easy fix, it's gonna be a continual problem.
Okay.
So, and I just wanted to bring it up to, to your attention of what we're going through.
When did you buy the property?
2 years ago.
You got it 2 years ago, and
Yes, sir.
you bought yours recently. And who's the other person, Cam?
Yeah, it's
When did he
Kevin,
buy his?
Kevin Camp. I bought first, and then I believe Kevin Camp bought his, and then Rich came in and bought all that. This back property wasn't really even for sale. It was just property that he had left. And he worked out a deal with him. So,
Okay, well, this, just so you're aware, as far as bringing it to our attention, it's obviously now a public record. What happens with these meetings, if you wanted to see the actual video, it'll be a few days before it gets uploaded to our website. Then it'll probably just be there till the next meeting gets uploaded, then it goes to the township's YouTube channel. So it'll always be there, but
Yep.
you can always, download it or get a copy of it also.
I'm sure it'll be text to me, and I'm sure I'll be criticized for it from him.
Yeah,
So,
well,
which is okay. I have big shoulders.
okay. Well,
So-
hopefully it's, people start cooperating. I mean, that's always the best avenue to go.
I sure wish, I sure wish. It would be so simple to sit down here and figure it out. We could all figure it out very, very quickly. So,
Okay.
but there's no figuring out with this gentleman at all. So, and she says, she goes with whatever he says. So, so I don't understand. In fact, I went to him. The last time I talked to him was when we had our outing. I said, I don't care about yesterday. Can't fix it, can't change it. I can only make today good. I go, so let's forget everything you've said. Let's forget all the stuff. Let's just fix it. So, yeah, and that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, well,
So-
hopefully this will work out. Again, I hope that, starting with Ken Carney, the county engineer first, that might help. Since we just happen to be going this week, our first dry period for a long while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
They may not see it, but they'll get out there and they'll be able to tell.
Oh, yeah, it's easy.
As to what's happening, because again, their first concern is that road, and that will give you some teeth if it's impacting the road drainage
Okay.
there. The next will be with Don Romankek, if it's impacting that area, and then the erosion sediment, especially with that one area still being farmed there. They obviously can't have that water backing up because that's not good for any crop.
No, and I understand, where it pulls. It's going to pull. I mean, when you get a lot of rain, it's just what's going to happen. and then it leaches its way to, to the lower spot, and that happens to be me. So,
Yeah, but it's shown if, Georgianne, can you call up the auditor's website with the aerial view? Okay, see the area right to the south there? That's been farmed for a long time.
yep,
That tells you that drains enough to produce crops. What'll happen if that gets plugged, they won't be able to produce crops anymore. There's actually, yeah, there, point out there's also some drainage courses right here.
yep,
And, they don't show up as well in this view, but they're definitely drain in, head to the north, and then switch over to the west. And then you can see the red area that identifies the floodplain. That's when you get into the larger ditch there.
Yep.
The ditch is pretty well defined at that point, and runs to the north and goes under 113. So it's, no one can argue that that area wasn't tillable or good farmland in the past, because it's pretty clear it is. There's no trees there. There's
Yep.
not even brush there. So it's, but hopefully, starting with the county engineer, that will help you. Okay, and they might just get it corrected by just talking with the individual, and, the individual may just, realize, I've got to comply, and let's just go ahead and clear out the dams that were put in place.
yeah. It's, yeah, you'd have to move all those trees now too, because they're all laying over top of that stuff, so. But I appreciate all the information. It gives me a lot to work on. So I appreciate your time.
And let us know if you need anything that we can help, or any of the contacts with the others, but
Yeah, I'll do
if
it.
you need a copy of this, you can get a copy of the meeting.
Yeah, I'll do it the right way.
Okay.
The wrong way for me, we'd go over there and just remove the dams, which would be very easy to do.
Yeah,
So
well, and they're...
that's not going to solve anything, because that'll just be a
No,
bigger
it's-
problem.
Yeah, and they can be put back to you.
And my wife said, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Good
Hey,
advice.
Thank you very much. Nice.
All right, thanks, Tim. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak on this issue, or you guys, Tim pretty much said everything you needed? Okay.
The ones that have the drain at the end of the driveway, so the road.
Yeah,
The pole that has the house that has the drainage that goes.
yeah, but if the engineers see it's not allowing the roads to drain, they're gonna take corrective action. And they'll let the individual know, and then they'll be working right with the prosecutor's office if need be, if a person doesn't comply. Because again, it seems pretty easy to comply, just remove the obstructions that were added, but then they'll be able to have an eye on it in terms of the new construction to make sure that they don't create an issue. Okay? I mean, there are ways they can reroute the water, but it has to be done the right way.
See, this is new to us too, because we just bought that property last January. We've only been in the house a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new issue for us too, finding all this water this spring. Last
Yeah.
year, we didn't have that problem. This year, we have it.
Yeah,
My dad is spending 17 grand
Trying
to
to
get
get
French
some-
drains.
Trying to get water off the back
The-
of our yard.
You drive on the driveway and water comes up the cracks.
Yeah.
They didn't realize
It's-
what the issue was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't realize what the issue was and hired someone to come out and help us take care of our water problems. Well, now we know what the issue was.
yeah.
Where are you in relation to this?
We're right there with the,
So,
it's not really backing us up because we're behind all of him.
but I can see because water does leach. So water it would make all of our water tables higher if it's getting plugged up and has
Right.
nowhere to go. So
Oh,
sorry,
Go back.
we're right here.
okay.
And our whole backyard, it's like walking on a waterbed. The whole ground will shift as you walk on it. It's just, you take a step and you get splattered with mud. It's just so high.
Yeah, Tim and my husband walked it the other day.
Where the stream forms, that stream forms about right here. It comes down, and then it curves. It used to go in here, and it was wide, and he dammed it there and forcing it all down this way. Well, without all this water coming across during the storm and pulling it, this stuff up here is now just kind of like, it's not leaching, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, so there's not as much going through here. So also with not as much water running through there, all the debris is not getting stuck. So when we walked it the other day, it was, picking out trash and stuff.
No, he can't obstruct that.
And the other neighbor next to us, they just bought their house, it'll be 2 years in August. The one on this side of me, just bought their house 2 years in August, and their backyard is just
This is a swamp.
they can't do nothing.
This is a swamp now from
Yeah.
about right here out.
Yeah, they can't do nothing.
Has
They
this
can't even walk
changed,
back
and this
there.
is something that's changed in the last few months?
I
Yeah,
talked-
last,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I would say,
I was
probably
been,
to August.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
didn't realize what he was doing because I didn't go back there while I was concentrating on getting the house done.
And we were dry enough over there, but
Yeah.
now this spring and winter has been so wet that it completely emphasized the whole problem. It made it.
I mean, but last summer, and it was bad too last summer.
I didn't,
Towards the end of summer.
I didn't know it was that bad, but they came down to my house. Said, hey.
Yeah, I wanted to see what was going on because the water was backing up so bad on our property.
Yeah.
That's why my husband went out and hired
But this
somebody.
was a change.
Yeah, it was a change.
It was a change. It wasn't like, oh, I just found out, I just moved here and I just found out I got a wet backyard.
No, it wasn't changed.
It was
It
a
was-
change.
Something happened and it changed.
It changed,
Being
yeah.
relatively dry, it's wet now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Tim, if you can share all that contact information, because I only had the 2 copies, and,
That's where I met his dog.
That's why I told him we met last week. I said, well, the only good thing out of this so far is I've had some great people.
yeah, when your lots are so big, sometimes you don't meet each
Yeah, so I
other.
said, well, we got that going for us, so,
Yeah,
Yes, they say there's a reason for everything, so who knows? Who
yeah.
knows? But that's
Well,
the way I approach it.
Keep us informed. I hope
got
that
it.
County Engineer Ken Carney can help you and Don Romankek. I think they'll steer you in the right direction,
Yep.
and hopefully it works out that way versus having to turn into a civil matter.
Yeah,
Okay?
I appreciate it.
All
Thanks
right,
again.
take care.
Good night.
Okay, we're going to move on through the meeting. In terms of correspondence and announcements, Chris?
I just have the one copy of the letter that I provided to you, and I'll have to get one to Remy. The letter from the Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office regarding a notice of tax foreclosure on parcel number 05-00-097-103-008. I gave you a copy because I had not received one of those before.
Okay. All right, and David?
Do I have anything under correspondence? I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, I do have 2 items that are in your packet. The first one is I did a follow-up as to the status of the 2 grant requests that we've turned in to the county where they had requested eligible projects in terms of the use of the American Rescue Plan Act monies, and we turned in 2 of them. The one was a joint Amherst Township, Elyria Township, roughly $242,000 to work on the connection of the 27 residential homes and 1 business. And the other was to do a switch. Instead of using TIF dollars to pay for a sanitary sewer extension from Hampshire Farms northerly along Overland Road to the State Route 2 overpass, to instead use the ARPA funds that are eligible for sanitary sewer construction, take a smaller portion of the TIF funds and use those for the road refurbishment, which we would then apply and use that to leverage additional OPWC funds to repave Overland Road. We already have from the prosecutor an opinion that yes, that is appropriate and eligible expenditures that way, because obviously we can't use the ARPA funds for roads, but they can be used for the sewers. Well, Commissioner Moore, who is the point person the board has put to send the request to him, when I followed up, he said he's already given copies, I think they just received them last Wednesday, to the other commissioners. He recommended I send a notice to the prosecutor's office requesting that he prepare two resolutions, which this here is the correspondence doing that. Once the Dan Petticourt, Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office, has prepared those resolutions, it's up to the president of the board, which is Commissioner Matt Lundy, to decide that they're going to be included on the agenda. So the best I can tell you is keep tabs on those commissioners' agendas. If you see it up there, you might want to show up to the commissioners' meeting, or if you want to contact, any one of the commissioners. But at this point, I would say Commissioner Lundy, since he's the president of the board, who will make the determination. And obviously, he's going to want to see the resolutions from the prosecutor. So that's the first communication. The next one is from the Zoning Commission. It's titled Site Plan for Phase 1 of the Sandstone Development, from the Amherst Township Zoning Commission Chairman Lonnie Dillon. The Zoning Commission did approve the general development for site plan review for just Phase 1 of the Sandstone Development. That's the one from between Oberlin Road and State Route 58, north of 113, south of the Ohio Turnpike. And essentially what the developer is proposing is just to construct a portion of the east-west road corridor, approximately 3,500 feet from Oberlin Road heading west towards 58. It's my understanding they're doing that while they're awaiting their permit to cross over some wetlands. But the Zoning Commission approved that. As our zoning resolution states, it will now be the Board of Trustees will review that plan, and either our options are to agree with the decision of the Zoning Commission or deny their decision and give the reasons why. I did put a call in just today with the developer to see if they're prepared for our next meeting on May 24th to come before the board. So, at this point, I'd say tentatively the trustees will do the review of the Phase 1 final development site plan review for the Sandstone Development on that roadway portion, our next meeting. But that's just tentative till I hear back from the developer. The last item, and this isn't on your agenda because it came in later, it's just an invite for the grand opening, the Cahovinian Homes at Hampshire Farms. That's an optional thing, but it's on a Saturday, May 21st, from 12 to 1. They'll actually have the hours of the event are from 12 to 4, but I assume the actual ribbon cutting is sometime between that 12 and 1 o'clock. So if you're available, Dave, at 12 o'clock Saturday, May 21st, they're having a ribbon cutting. That's all I have for correspondence and announcements. So we'll move on to reports. Zoning, Remy?
Yeah, we had 4 permits for the month, and of those 4 permits, 1 was a new house. So that brings our total to 2 new houses for the year and 1 new house for this month.
Where was that house at?
It's 9280 Fowl Road.
North of the houses or south? North of those houses or south of the houses that are there, do you know?
I haven't been out there to look at the site. 9?
Right there in the mix, of them, there was a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like in the middle.
Yep.
Anything else then, Remy?
And that's it. We do have a meeting coming up for zoning, and that'll be on the date escapes me right now. It's seems like it's the 25th or the 26th.
25th.
The 25th, and that'll be for the BZA for can't
That's for the sign?
Not for the sign. Storage. That's right, outside storage over on Archie Abraham for the conditional use. That's what it was. For A&C, the old A&C tire, there's a gentleman,
Okay.
there's a company in the back that has, had a brain freeze there, had a trash compactor that they store outside, and we wanted to include them in the conditional use. They already have a conditional use there for the people up front, but the second business in the back needs to have.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Remy? All right, we'll move on to roads, parks, and cemeteries. Superintendent Kevin Smarsh.
Okay, well, for cemeteries, we're trimming and mowing at the park, obviously trimming and mowing as well. There is the AD swing that has been taken down. Belts were torn and the chain was close enough to where I took it out of service, but I do have them ordered, so they should be on their way back. Get that back into service. Been on potholes and some ditch cleaning, and the orange 1996 Ford dump truck of the township has been taken to Clark to get the new box put on. Butchko's been in and changed the lights over to LEDs.
Yeah, and Chris had the payment taken care of in here.
Okay. And we did receive back the, for the South Dewey bids, and the request, and Precision Paving was to be awarded for that.
Yeah, if you can just email over the stuff, you know, scanned or whatever you have, and we'll have the resolution ready at the next meeting.
Send it over tonight. Daryl Saladin is back for part-time duty. Been back last week. So we definitely got him mowing.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with that now. But other than that, everything seems to be going pretty smooth. That's all I have at this time.
Any questions, David?
No, right now.
Okay, Township Administrator Linda Ashley.
Okay, the first thing is the NOPEC lights that you just, or the NOPEC dollars, I'm sorry, to cover the LED lights that you just mentioned for Butchko. I'm going to get a copy of the paid invoice tonight from Chris, and I will be putting that into NOPEC's website to be reimbursed. So we should,
Great.
I would hope within a couple weeks, have that money reimbursed into our account. The Green Ribbon Award is open again, and the project that we just had done does qualify. So I'm going to try to write the grant so that the money, or the lights that we did in the shop, in the garage, qualified for the Green Ribbon Award, which gave us $2,500. We're using that $2,500 with the NOPEC dollars to do the rest of our lights. So I'm going to see if somehow maybe we can get a Green Ribbon Award again. I don't know if they'll, you know, if that'll work or not, but maybe if I wordsmith it, just so, and do some creative writing, but hopeful to that. And I did hire a administrative assistant. Her name is Melinda. She's competent on Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, and she even said she could do PowerPoints, but I don't do PowerPoints, so maybe she can teach me. But yeah, she can do all that. And she doesn't have any problem with doing a lot of data entry. She can create spreadsheets, and we'll hopefully get her involved in doing some of the GPS.
Okay, good. And Chris,
of the
you've got all the
signs.
information for onboarding?
Nope, I'll need to get that, yeah.
Okay.
She's not starting till June 6th. She works for the school system.
Okay.
And I'm only gonna, you know, at this point,
8 to 12 hours a week is what I'm foreseeing. And also the pavilions they must be having a sale on the pavilions because I have more people calling to reserve them. Keep giving them to Kevin. So the one year we had 3, and it wasn't the COVID year, it was like the year before. We had 3 reservations for the year. COVID, of course, we didn't have any until the very end. This year I couldn't even tell you how many we have, but we've got quite a few.
What we had and what's on the board left so far this summer, it would be 15.
Wow. Keep the
Yeah.
grass mowed.
Yeah.
Trash cans empty.
Yeah.
The only
Make sure they take care of the borders, yes.
The issue, like the one lady called, one issue, and this has nothing to do with us really, but she has both pavilions rented because she was going to have a large gathering for an early childhood PTA. She had it again, I think it was in April that she had it? Yeah, for Easter egg hunt. And she's bringing in the fire truck and a food truck. And there's also baseball games all day. So they're trying to figure out parking and
Right,
that coordination, so.
yeah.
And that can be an issue.
Sometimes residents get concerned, but they are eligible to park on the road. I know this, when the soccer games go, they park all up and down Hidden Valley Drive, only because where the soccer fields are, that's a shorter walk than
Right.
parking
right.
in the lot.
And
They
I know
may
this,
want to talk with workshop players if they're willing to let them, it
Right.
all depends what they're doing on that day.
right, and that's what she had brought that up. She said maybe she would contact them and see if possibly they could park up there. I believe it's only going to be a couple hours,
Yeah,
so it'll work out.
I wouldn't think they'd have an issue depending upon the timing and,
Yeah, I believe it's like from 10 to 1 or 11 to 2 or something like that, so it's going to be early.
yeah. All depends if they're practicing. You know how that is.
I
so
know,
Practicing or building a set.
right. So that's it, nothing else.
All right, are there any questions for Linda? I didn't get a notice, this is odd, I didn't get a notice on the Green Ribbon Grant being open again. I'm gonna have to see if I'm still on their email distribution list.
I don't know that I got one email, but I have a card, NOPEC, and it says that it was open. And when I was on their site, it said it was open. But I don't know that I got an email saying that either.
Okay, the complaints, we've just got one here that's assigned to Denny, he's not here. Beyond that, it's, David, as far as the other items that are assigned responsibility, I don't know if you have anything to bring
I
forward.
really don't have anything to bring forward.
I-
Nothing really under solid waste right now. Everything was brought forward last meeting.
Good, I originally told Georgianne this would be a short meeting, but because we didn't have any resolutions we had to get through, but, things always come up. So, with that, our next meeting is at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, May 24th. Tentative, we'll have that review of the Phase 1 final development for the sandstone. We'll also have the resolution for the bid award for South Dewey. As far as I know, those are the 2 items, other than all the financials, that must be taken care of. I have no need for an executive session unless something's come up that you're aware of.
No.
Okay.
No, I have nothing- like I said, I have nothing more to bring forward, so.
All right, is there any other business? Okay, then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Now, second,
Lynch,
Yes.
Yuri.
yes.